Hello, hello. Hi. Hey, what's up? It's the end of September, which means we're going into October, which means spooky movies are around the corner. And I'm pumped, dude. We're going to watch some spooky movies. But right now we're talking about September. So what did I watch this month? This month was full of good movies. Kind of. I also watched some pretty bad ones. I watched a lot of random stuff. There was no theme or guide to what I watched this month. I kind of just watched what I wanted, you know? Let's start with the movies I watched this month. First, we'll start off with Thief, directed by Michael Mann. This movie rips. I'm still on my Michael Mann binge, where I'm trying to watch all of his movies. And Thief, it's gonna be tough to beat, to be honest. It's some of my favorite work of his. This movie just grabs you and doesn't let go. It kind of just takes a hold of you, just sends you on like a thrill ride. It just never lets up. I would say this movie is almost like a blueprint for like modern neo-noir movies that we kind of get. Stuff like Drive or Safdie Brothers type movies. James Caan is amazing. The soundtrack is incredible. There's a sequence in the movie where they're breaking into a safe, and on paper it seems like it would be impossible to film it the way that they did, but they pulled it off, and it's incredible. It's a heart-pounding thrill ride of a scene. Yeah, all hail Michael Mann, dude. He knows how to make an action thriller. After that, I watched American Movie. I already did a video about this, so if you want to hear me talk more in depth about this movie, check it out on my channel. If you don't like my voice and you don't want to hear me talk about it at length, I'll give you the brief rundown. This movie is awesome. It is very important to me. It is a great documentary, and I think everyone should check it out. After that, I watched Mass. This movie, if you want to cry your eyes out, check out this movie. This is one of those movies that I'm not 100% sure if it started out as a stage play or if it was written to be a stage play, but that's what it feels like. There's one setting throughout the whole movie, and there's just a few characters, and they just sit down and they talk. The dialogue is written beautifully, where it keeps your attention the whole time. The performances are masterclasses, honestly. The topic and subject of what these characters are talking about in this movie is a very difficult topic to approach. I think writer and director Fran Kranz really nailed it. He tackled this type of subject matter with such care and such professionalism that it seemed real. It seemed like I was watching a real dialogue between real people. Everything about it just like fits so well together. But yeah, if you want to get emotional and if you want to cry, definitely check out Mass. It's, I would say, one of the more hidden gems of last year. I don't think a lot of people talked about it, but I highly recommend it. Then after that, I continued my John Cassavetes binge, where I checked out A Woman Under the Influence. This is now probably one of my favorite movies. When it started out, I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, but the longer it went on, the more I realized I related to it in a sense. The aspect of the movie where there is a character who would do anything for the person that they love, even though they don't fully understand that person, I think is beautiful storytelling, and it just sat with me. Peter Falk and Gina Rowlands do incredible work together. The chemistry that they share on screen is incredible, but this movie is really carried by Gina Rowlands' performance. I don't think I've seen a movie from this era really tackle subject matter like mental health so accurately. The setting of this movie is also very limited. It mostly takes place in the same house, in the same couple of rooms. Yet John Cassavetes knows how to work the camera and keep things fresh and keep things moving. This movie probably definitely bumped into my like top 10 of all time. And then we lost a great this year. We lost one of the greats. Sir Jean-Luc Godard passed away. Rest in peace. On the day of his passing, I decided I wanted to honor him by watching one of his films. I originally was gonna sit down and watch Breathless, because that's, one of my favorites. But, I decided I would branch out and try something of his that I hadn't seen yet. So I checked out Alphaville. And sadly, I don't think this was the movie I should have watched that day. This one really, didn't do it for me. I enjoyed this film in the sense that it had his iconic style and editing choices, but the story is where it fell pretty flat for me. It took me a while to realize what I was watching was actually a sci-fi film, but that could be my fault just for not reading into it before I watched it. I also found it kind of boring. it definitely was like scratching that itch that I had to watch one of his films, but at the same time, it was also putting me to sleep. I could see this definitely being like somebody's thing. It just definitely wasn't mine. It's definitely on the lower tier of his movies for me. But with that being said, I mean, we still lost a great. So rest in peace, Jean-Luc Godard. Thank you for leaving us with the work that you have done. And then after that, I watched John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness. This movie's insane. If you've never seen this movie, check it out. Usually when people talk about John Carpenter's films, they talk about, you know, Halloween or The Thing, but more people need to talk about this movie because it is just bat crazy. Sam Neill just gives it his all throughout the entire thing, even if it becomes a detriment in some scenes. The story is like all over the place, but in the best way possible. You're jumping from like one location to another. The whole movie kind of feels like this wild rabbit chase that also is kind of starting to drive you mad while you're watching it, which is kind of awesome because then you kind of start to relate to Sam Neill's character as he starts to lose his mind. The ending of the movie is one of those ones that yeah, you're just gonna be thinking about it for a while afterwards. I am giving it a lot of praise, but definitely don't go into this expecting like a mind-blowing Christopher Nolan-esque masterpiece. It's definitely campy and it's super fun. It's wild and I love it, and you should definitely check it out. And then after that, my buddy Sean and I went and saw Barbarian. I really love this movie. We did a whole podcast episode about it, so if you want to hear us talk about it in depth, you can check that out. But again, if you don't want to do that, I'll give you the brief rundown. It kind of brought some new life into a genre that was slowly starting to lose my interest, so I really liked it. The scares are great, the story's awesome, acting, writing, everything about it I really liked. So check it out in a theater. I would say watch it in a theater, get that full spooky immersive experience because it'll make it that much better. And it's about to be October, so it's the perfect, you know, if you and your boo thing want to go see a spooky movie and get all cuddled up, this is the one to do it. After that, I watched Paul Thomas Anderson's Licorice Pizza. When this movie came out, I didn't have the opportunity to see it nor the time to see it, which really bummed me out because according to the trailer, the cast list, the fact that it was a PTA film, it seemed like it was made for me. Like I felt like I was gonna love this movie, so I hyped it up a lot and never got the chance to see it. And then it came out on Blu-ray. I for some reason never bought it, and then randomly a couple weeks ago it was just on Amazon Prime, and I was like, you know what, I'll finally sit down and watch this movie. And it was okay. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson, obviously, but it definitely was not my least favorite Paul Thomas Anderson film, but it's down there. And I hate to say it. I just found it boring, I don't know, monotonous, if that's the right word to use. I didn't feel any relation to any of the characters. I mean, I guess it kind of captured that feeling of being like young and helplessly in love pretty well, but it wasn't enough to fill the runtime. I think, you know, the Haim sisters did great. I think they did really good. Philip Seymour Hoffman's son, he nailed that type of character, not gonna lie. Like, he did a great job portraying that kid. But other than that, dude, don't get me wrong, Paul Thomas Anderson has knocked it out of the park before. I freaking love The Master, Punch Drunk Love, There Will Be Blood, but this to me fell under the same pile of like Inherent Vice and Magnolia for me, where it's just like the absurdity of it is kind of what keeps you watching, and that's not really my thing. So yeah, sad to say, didn't love it, but you know, it's not gonna stop me from watching any of his other movies. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't like Licorice Pizza. Sue me. Yeah, and then after that I watched Mr. Magorium's Wonder Emporium. It was a late night. Sierra and I were hanging out with some friends, and we just wanted to throw something on. I was just scrolling through HBO Max, and I was like, oh, do you guys remember Mr. Magorium's Wonder Emporium? And we all were like, yes, I used to love this movie. And so we put it on, and I was the only one that finished it. They all went to sleep. I was the only one that stayed up and watched the whole thing. With that being said, when it comes to the little bit of childlike wonder that still lives inside of me somewhere, this movie brought it out. The magic that I felt from this movie when I was a kid still hits. It still hits hard. Dustin Hoffman is incredible. Natalie Portman. is Natalie Portman. I forgot that Jason Bateman was in this movie, but, you know, he's classic Jason Bateman. The businessman in the suit who doesn't believe in the magic, is only here to play by the rules, play by the numbers. That classic Jason Bateman character. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those movies that when I eventually have kids one day, I will sit down and watch this with them. And I'll get to relive it for the first time through their eyes, and that excites me. That was super cheesy, but... Oh, and then after that, we watched Don't Worry, Darling. This is another movie that we did a whole video about. I did two. I did a spoiler-free and a spoiler review. Both of them are on my channel. You can check them out. Yeah, in both of those, I said the movie was mid. However, it's been a few weeks, and I've thought about it. And the more I think about this movie, my wife also the same way, the more we think about this movie, the more we don't like it. To be honest, I think I hate this movie. I hate that it's taken so much from me, so much time and brain energy from me to sit and think about it and talk about it and mull it over. It's not worth it. It's not good. I hated this movie. I originally gave it like a 2.5. I'm bumping it down to a 1.5. I think I absolutely do not like this movie. I said it. I finally got it off my chest. Thank you. I bookended this month with another Michael Mann film. I watched The Insider. This is one I'd never seen before. I didn't have any clue what it was about. I just knew Al Pacino and Russell Crowe and Michael Mann, and that's all I needed to know. That being said, the script for this movie would not have worked in anyone else's hands other than Michael Mann, because the story and plot of this thing is kind of boring. It's kind of not like super thrilling, but somehow Michael Mann manages to make it one of the most exhilarating things I've ever seen. For a movie about two guys with a moral compass that is set to chaotic good and they just want to expose big tobacco is kind of a crazy plot line for a movie, but yeah, they do it, and it's so good. I've said it a million times, I'm a sucker for a courtroom drama, and this has bits of that, but there's also just some intense scenes of big businessmen being grimy, slimy big businessmen, and it just makes you mad, and it makes you angry. Michael Mann just knows how to work all of this stuff. He is the king of this type of formula. Christopher Plummer, there's a scene where he gives one of the most amazing monologues I've ever heard, and if I watched this back when I was in theater in high school, I would have definitely auditioned with this monologue because it's so good. Yeah, The Insider, if you are a fan of Michael Mann, definitely check this out. Even if you aren't, you may find it like a little bit not that great, but if you're like me and you are loving Michael Mann, then definitely check it out. It's one of his like hidden gems for sure. Yeah, so that's all the movies I watched. I guess I can talk about TV shows. I finally finished Better Call Saul. Oh my god. Just go watch it. I eventually will probably talk about this in like another video, but please watch this show. What else? What other shows? House of the Dragon is still good. It's still holding up. I'm liking it. Well, eventually when it's over, I'll give you my like actual rating, but yeah, I'm still rocking with it, so sound off in the comments if you freaking love House of the Dragon. But yeah, that's everything I watched in September. Next month will probably just be full of spooky movies. I also want to say that the last video that I did with my wife Sierra, where we did a spoiler talk of Don't Worry, Darling, kind of brought on the most views I've seen in my channel, which was really nice to see. It brought on quite a few subscribers. I like jumped up a little bit, which felt really nice. So if you're new here, hi, thank you. I'm happy that you're here. If you like this kind of stuff, let me know. If there's anything else you want to see me do, yeah, just let me know in the comments, I guess. I don't know. I feel weird saying that. But yeah, my name is Cody Metcalf. Thank you for watching.
He is a guy that is brought in to assess the value of the store and to see how it should properly run, because Mr. Magorium is going to bequeath the store to Mahoney. So